go.
Hi, Professor Hughes. My name is Carter Campbell,
And my name's Colton Quaylar.
and is this our final CLC? We have one more after this. It's crazy.
Uh, yeah.
So going through our updates, we do have updates to our UML diagram. So the first thing we added was the game save model, which we use to save a game to the database. It just has the user ID for the user it's being saved to, the date time for when it was saved, and then the uh, JSONified string of the board. And then other than that, we have the game API controller, which has our API endpoints to get all the games, to get a game by a specific game ID, and to delete a game by a game ID. And then we just also have our updated login controller methods for delete game, save game, load game. We'll go through those in a minute. Colton, if you want to just go through the updated database.
Yeah, for sure. So all we're doing is adding a table called saved games. And that's just going to contain, the JSON that you need to load the board, the user ID of the user who saved the game, give it a game ID to index it by, and then the day saved is the daytime we saved it. You just attach that to the user table by the ID. So, and then
Perfect. And then the only new wireframes we just had was when you actually are loading a game, it's a little different than just the initial game that loads up because you can't save a game you've already loaded where we have the save game button. So this will just take you back to your save games page, and then this is the save game page that will just show all your save games. You can play and delete them from there. And we also do have like a save failed and a load failed screen, but those are basically just a page saying save failed and load failed. So, and then we have our updated Jira backlog, the current sprint, and the burn down chart. So that's pretty much all for that. We'll go ahead and start with the code. And I guess a good place would probably be we'll start with the session variables first if you
okay,
want to that,
yeah.
Colton.
So here in Program CS, I'm just going to add to builder.services HTTP cookies and idle timeout, so it'll time you out if you're idle for that amount of time. And then basically that's going to add the session variables. And then I just go up here and I can access http context.session.getString. And you actually need a NuGet package for this. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But you're going to access the string called logged user that we have set up there and set the logged in username right after he logs in to that. And then you can use that to access the database and check if that user is there. So down in process login, that's what we're going to do is just set logged user to that new username. And you can just check that anytime you want to check that the user's logged in. And if they're not, send them to the login page and clear the logged user variable. So that's about it for the HTTP context session.
Perfect. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and go through our new the save game, the load game, and the delete game functions. So first we have save game. This is our controller method, where first we're going to serialize the game board into a string. That way we can store it in our database. Next off, we're going to get the user's ID through our session variable, and we're going to get the date time that they click the save game button. With those three properties, that is what our game save model uses. So I'll pull that up real quick. We just have an ID, the date time it was saved, and then the JSON game board. So when they click save game, we're going to get all those values, and then we're going to go to our DAO and try to save the game. So I'll just go to our DAO real quick. Here we have save game. We're pretty much just have our SQL statement. We're going to insert a game save model basically in there. And we're going to add our parameters from the game save model that we sent as a parameter. And we're just going to add that to a database. It's pretty similar for load game and delete game. For load game, let's see, where's this at? Lower. For load game, we have to deserialize the object back into a board model. and set game board to that. And then we're just going to call our show board from load view, which the only difference between that and just our normal show board is the button that instead of saving a game, you're just going to go back to the save games page. And then finally, delete is pretty straightforward. We just have our DAO method. We're going to delete. I actually delete it off of the JSON board. You just match the JSON board only because we don't have the game ID in our game save model. So I just go off JSON board, but then in our API, we have to go off of game ID, but we'll go through that in a minute. So I guess we'll go ahead and before we do the API stuff, I'll just demo, save, load, and delete. So we're gonna go ahead and run this. That's random pretty quick a minute ago.
Yeah. Gonna work. There we go, right? No, never mind.
So same as normal, you have to log in to get to your initial game board. You're gonna set up a new game. And here we have our new board. We'll go ahead and just click one and save it. So you can see after we save it, it pulls up all our saved games. It's only showing the ones for your specific user ID that's all pulled from the session. So we can click load game and you can see this is still the same game board. The timer is glitchy, but it's still counting at the correct interval and everything. And you can change and still play the game, save it. Hit a button. Yeah. And then we can just straight up. Why is Copilot?
I don't know.
I don't even have
I
Copilot.
noticed that. I thought you did that on purpose for a
So yeah,
second.
delete game works, load game. Yeah,
Very
that's
nice.
pretty much all for that. So we'll go ahead. Next up, I'll actually leave it running, but we'll go over to the game API controller if you just want to talk about like our three endpoints real quick, Colton.
Yeah, sure. So this is the API controller. This is where you're going to be, sending your requests to. So we set up our routes, and then we have these methods to get all your saved games, delete a saved game, and oh yeah, and a delete a save game by ID. So
Yeah, and these all just have their DAO methods.
yeah, it's same DAO methods.
This delete
Yeah.
game deletes off a JSON board. That's for the game save model. This delete game is off the game ID, which is for our API endpoints. So I have Postman pulled up real quick. And I think about it, I actually don't know all the IDs of my save.
Oh,
But yeah, okay, here we go. So we
there we
deleted
go.
three just now. We can show save games. Let's see if we have yeah, perfect. So here's just a specific game. It has their user ID, saved a game board. And then if we just do slash show save games, it will pull all of the different games in the database regardless of the ID. So I think that's
Yeah, I
everything for
think that's just about everything.
GPUs. Yeah, we have the session variables for ID, our game save model, save, load, delete,
And we
and
got
our
the
API
API.
endpoint. Yep.
Yep.
So I think
So
that's pretty much
sorry my
everything.
camera's not working. I have no idea why. And thank you for watching. Okay.